Hello.
I'm just gonna wait for Mr. Hurst to, what are you waiting for? Denise. She went. Okay, we'll call the student representatives meeting to order. And tonight, we have the Springfield Middle School and Springfield Public Day Middle School. Sebastian Roman and John Yarns are on, supported by Rhonda Jacobs, who's the principal, the hoopster, daughter, Linda Singer, assistant principal, Michael Dutton, and Christina O'Connor, teachers. So I'll ask first if the administration would like to say a few words, and then with an introduction, and then we want to hear from Sebastian and John.
Hi, this is Linda, assistant principal. I just want to say how proud I am of the students that I work with and all the staff. I don't want to brag, but I think we have the most wonderful students and staff in the district, and they've all been working really hard on their project-based learning, and they're here to tell you a little bit about that. So we're going to start with John Yarns, if you want to introduce him first.
Very good. Thank you, Assistant Principal Singer. So who's up first?
Me, excuse me, sir. Good evening, Mayor Sarno and the school committee members. My name is John Yarns, and I am an 8th grader from Public Day Middle School. As part of a portrait of the graduate, our school is working on skills we need for the real world, like problem solving and effective communication. We are doing project-based learning, and in math, we worked on a project called Common Sense. We use decimals to calculate the total
John,
cost.
if I could interrupt one sec. Josue, can that be a little bit louder? So I know the school committee members, we'd all like to hear it. Not you, John. It's not you. You're doing a great job. We want to see if we can make it a little bit louder so we can hear and the viewing public can hear also. My apologies, John.
It's okay.
Okay,
Go
Josue?
ahead.
And I want to thank Focus Springfield. They've been great, Josue. Thank you. John, you want to start? Let me see if it's louder for us, please, again.
Okay. We use
Sorry about that.
decimals to calculate the total cost
Thank you.
to proceed different coins. We then had to decide whether it made sense to keep the penny. In science, we did projects with elements and how they turn into compounds and how they mix. Our most recent project was an ELA. We have been doing different readings about stories with harsh climates, and then did a class project about Alaska, where we practice the skills of understand, respect, communicate with people from different cultures and backgrounds.
Nice job, John. Thank you very much. And you look sharp tonight. Look very sharp. Look sharp, young man. Okay, Sebastian, you're on.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Sarno and Superintendent Warwick and the school committee members. My name is Sebastian Roman, and I am an 8th grade student at Springfield Middle School. Both Springfield Middle School and Public Day Middle School have been involved in project-based learning, PBL, as John mentioned. Most recently, the 8th grade ELA environments. 8th grade ELA, English language arts classes have been doing a project about living in extreme environments. We have adopted a sister school, North Pole Middle School in North Pole, Alaska, and interviewed those students via Zoom on what life is like in the middle of extreme environments, like in the town of North Pole. We learned that life is quite different, but there are some similarities. We learned that there's a 4-hour time difference, meaning that when the Zoom started, it was only 9 a.m. at North Pole. We were so excited to learn that North Pole Mill wanted to interview us because they wanted to learn about more about life in Massachusetts. With fabulous and tireless direction from both Miss O'Connor and Mr. Dutton, this experience has been exciting while implementing the best practice of peer discourse with North Pole Middle School. Each student in both ELA classes drafted a list of interview questions to ask peers at North Pole Middle School. Not only did students learn about life in Alaska and our own personal interviews, but we learned from the questions of our peers. Thank you for your time and God bless Springfield, Massachusetts.
Nice job, Sebastian. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, Springfield Public Day High School is in the house. All right, look, Tommy Della Rosa, and I get rolls off your tongue. I like that, Della Rosa. Supported by Principal Rhonda Jacobs. Robert Porter is assistant principal, and Shanice Reed is teacher. So I don't know if the administration would like to open up first with an introduction for Tommy Della Rosa.
Good afternoon, evening, everyone. My name is Shanice Reed. I am here representing Springfield Public Day High along with Mr. De La Rosa. I'm going to give Tommy the floor. I just wanted to let everyone know that today's his birthday and he took the time out of his day to hang out with us today. So he's going to talk a little bit about what we have going on in school and how it's been being back in the classroom. So there you go, Tommy.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy birthday,
committee.
Tommy. Buono compleanno, we say in Italian, okay?
Thank you. All right, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, school committee members and fellow students. My name is Tommy De La Rosa, and as a Springfield Public Day High School student, I would like to share some experiences about being back in the building during this pandemic. At our school, we are fortunate to have a variety of staff members who use inventive methods of instruction to engage and meet our needs. For example, doing hands-on experiments in science and having virtual guest speakers in advisory. Excuse me. We also recently just started eating lunch in the cafeteria while still following the social distancing rules. While we had some advantages of learning from home, like sleeping a little longer and being able to eat amazing lunches, I am glad to be back in the presence of my peers. Nothing beats in-person learning, laughing, and growing with the staff and students at Public Day High.
Way to go, Mr. Della Rosa. Thank you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, STEM Middle Academy's in the house. Hainsley Clark, Neilani Nieves, supported by Principal Luis Martinez. Principal Martinez, if you'd like to open up first, and we'll listen to Hainsley and Neilani.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce, I want to say two of my favorite eighth graders, but guys, please don't tell all the eighth graders that I said that about you guys. These guys help me out every single morning with morning announcements. They're just great, amazing kids here at STEM Middle Academy. So tonight they're going to be talking about the portrait of a graduate and the college door contest that they're all partaking in.
Thank you, Principal Martinez.
Neilani, go ahead, start.
Or Neilani? Hainsley or Neilani, who's up?
I'll go.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Neilani Nieves, and I'm an eighth grader at STEM Middle Academy. In our crew classes, we are working on the portrait of graduate and what our future looks like. This month, we are doing a college door decorating contest. Our crew's door is about where each student wants to go and what we want to have or get out of college, and how college is a good way to get a great education. We also worked with Naviance, and it was good to help us start thinking about our future. We took a quiz, and it told me that I would do well in a career that supports my artistic and scientific side.
Very good. Thank you, Neilani. Thank you. Hainsley, you're up.
Hello everyone, my name is Hainsley Clark III. I am an eighth grader and I am here representing STEM. We've been doing Naviance and crew this month for the portrait of a graduate. If you're wondering what a Naviance quiz is, it's a college and career-based quiz we did in our crew that asks us what our interests are, and it helps us by preparing us for our future, or technically the next step in our life. For example, my quiz showed me that I'm artistic, conventional, and investigative mostly. Also in crew, we are doing a doors design and based it on the college we wanted to go to and why. My crew's name is CIA, which is short for Children's Intelligence Agency. Our teachers and principals are amazing at allowing us to explore colleges and think about our lives outside of middle school.
Thank you very much, Ainsley. Zanetti Montessori is in the house, and Trevor Plant. By the way, your dad does a great job for me in the city. Gabby Casey, say hi to your grandmother. Catherine Clark, your mom does a great job there, Zanetti. And Phelan Barnett, we're happy to have you all here, supported by Principal Tara Christian Clark, Kelly Shea, teacher and soccer coach, and Melanie Lubas, administrator intern. So I'll turn it over to the administration first for introductions, and we look forward to listening to the students.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight you'll hear that the students at Zanetti are having advisory every day. They're learning about real leadership qualities. Tonight, these students are going to talk about their leadership qualities. They've learned that being a leader is to taking the lead every day in many different ways. You'll hear the students talk about it in the classroom and also on the soccer field. So I'll turn it over to our Zanetti Middle School students. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Clark. Who's first to lead? Trevor, Gabby, Catherine, or Phelan?
Me.
All
Good
right.
Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, and school committee members. I'm Catherine Clark, an 8th grader from Zanetti. The 8th grade class has started reading the book All American Boys by Jason Reynolds. The class has read many novels, but not quite like this one. Interestingly, All American Boys is narrated from 2 different perspectives, Quinn and Rashad, both living in a city called Springfield, very similar to ours. While reading the book, we were doing a deep analysis of the characters. A few days ago, we did a character Ferris wheel. All the students in the class would go to a poster of a character from the book and write something about the character based on the words or actions in the text. In this activity, students had to think outside of the box and get creative. The principal and her team has made sure that every kid has their own copy of the book, which ensures that they can do any assignment necessary. In my opinion, All American Boys has been an eye-opening book to different perspectives of living in the city. I'm excited to continue the book and the ELA curriculum with my class.
Way to go, Catherine. Are you still chefing, Sedesco? Still doing the cooking? She's a winner. She won that. Very good. Who's next? Principal Clark.
Hi, I'll go next. Okay. Hello, my name is Dylan and I'm an 8th grader at Zanetti. The book All American Boys is good for kids my age. My personal opinion about this book is that there's so much that you can learn from it. Not even just learning about analyzing the characters, writing summaries or reflections, but you can learn other things about that goes around in the real world and in the everyday life. Usually people my age don't want to learn about politics and things that go on in the real world. But after reading this book, they get more interested in it. This book brings everyone together into deeper and further conversations about things that happen all around us. Deep conversations that are hard but needed. This book shows that there are some things and good things that go on around the world. And the world is not perfect, but it helps us talk about it. The book also connects to things that we are learning in history, human rights, and the rights and responsibility as a United States citizen, and connection to civic life. I'm happy that the city picked a new book for the ELA curriculum that reflects on the students in Springfield.
Nice job, Phelan. Thank you. Who's next on the hit parade?
I'm next.
Hey, Gabby, say hi to your grandmother.
I will. Hi, my name is Gabby Casey, and I'm a 7th grader at Zanetti Middle School who recently joined the soccer team. Soccer is a great way to get back to physical activity after being stuck at home for many months due to COVID. We do a lot of running and exercise before to ensure we are stretched and ready to play. Soccer is also a safe/great way to socialize with friends due to us being outdoors with masks on and socially distanced. Soccer also gives us the opportunity to socialize and see friends from other grades we don't normally see. Playing each other in scrimmages also promotes healthy team bonding and fun. Out of our small middle school of 100 people, we have over 30 players.
Thank you, Gabby.
Hi, I'm Trevor Plant. I am a 7th grader at Zanetti. Zanetti Middle School soccer team did a Donors Choose project for cleats. It was chosen by Kellogg's to fund the project ×5, and in 3 hours, it was fully funded. We received over $2,000 worth of cleats. This allowed more kids to play soccer because they didn't have to worry about any other costs. Soccer allows us to get outside, exercise, and socialize with friends from other grades. Thank you. Have a good night.
Nice job, Trevor. You still riding that bike or what? Okay, good job, good job. Okay, to finish up, South End Middle School is in the house. Michaela Rojas and Anna Leah, if I say that wrong, I think it's Anna Leah Rojas also. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Supported by Principal Cheryl DeSpirit and Daisy Roman Davis, Assistant Principal. So we'll turn it over to administration for introductions, please.
Good evening, everyone. So with me today, we have two amazing South End students who also happen to be sisters. We have Anaya Lee in the 7th grade and Michaela in the 8th grade.
Thank you very much, Assistant Principal Davis. And Aaliyah or Michaela, the floor is yours, sisters.
Good evening, Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, and members of our school committee. My name is Anaya Rojas. I am a 7th grade student at South End Middle School. I like being at South End Middle School because of the great learning environment they provide. In math class, I am learning about geometric figures and how to apply formulas to solve problems. For example, to find circumference, you must multiply 2 times pi times radius. In English class, I am learning about the elements of a story. I personally like to write about myself and my family as part of my personal narrative. In science, I am learning about potential and kinetic energy. In social studies, I am learning about Hinduism and Buddhism. Wow, that's a lot. My favorite subject is science because of all the experiments we get to do, along with the reading and writing. I love hands-on experiments. I got the opportunity to drop a book from knee level to the ground, then from my chest to the ground. I discovered that potential energy is affected by height. What I like most about advisory is that everyone gets to share their opinions and how we're feeling. We reflect on our academics and behaviors and how to become a better version of ourselves. Teachers work hard to connect in-person learning to technology and specific programs to help us. Some of the platforms we currently use are iReady, Khan Academy, Schoology, and McGraw-Hill. At South End, we use an agenda book in every class. We write down the topic and homework for each class. We make sure we have all of our materials ready for learning, follow school-wide protocols, and our homework completed. If we do this, we earn a prepare stamp in each class. If we get 80% of our stamps, we earn a dress down day. I'm working to get all of my stamps. I am excited about getting a dress down day. South End Middle School administration and teachers teach us our core values of being respectful, responsible, and ready in all our classes and everything we do every day. I try my best to follow all the core values. This school year, I look forward to continuing the learning and trying new things. Thank you for your time and allowing me to represent South End Middle School.
Emily, nice job here.
Thank you.
Job. Michaela, you're up. Sisters too. Oh.
Good evening, Mayor Sarno and Superintendent Warwick, and members of our school committee. My name is Michaela Rojas in middle school. The thing I like most about South End school are the teachers and school student. They help me when I don't understand something and provide me with the appropriate resources. My favorite subject is social studies. I enjoy learning about the past and how it impacts my life. The thing I like most about advisory are the fun activities we do. I enjoy playing the games and laughing with my advisory teacher and classmates. Some of the learning platform Nearpod and Schoology. I feel my teachers are preparing me for high school by having me complete writing assessments, do group projects, problem solving in mathematics, complete experiments in science, and learning about the American exceptionalism and social studies. I look forward to further exploring my high school options as my goal is to attend Putnam as for my future. Thank you for providing me an opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you to all our students and teachers and administrators. You did a great job tonight. That concludes the student representatives update or speak out. We'll be in recess for just a couple of minutes, and you're more than welcome to stay. We're going to come back on in about 6:30. No, I know, we're going to come back. We're going to come back on at 6:30.
We leaving?
Oh, it is? Okay.
We're going back to the teams.
I apologize, 6:45. We're usually 6:30, so 6:45.
See y'all
Thank
tomorrow.
you. Josue, let me know we're ready. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Present.
She's unable to attend tonight's meeting, for the record.
Present. Here.
Here, can we all, and Nathaniel Claudio, I believe, from Putnam Vocational School representatives here. Please rise for a moment of silence. I'd like to dedicate that to former Mayor Charlie Ryan, who just recently passed. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Focus Springfield, Josue, for your continued efforts to keep our meetings public, out to our viewing public. We'll now move to approval of the minutes. Approve the minutes of the October 14, 2021 regular session. Any questions or comments?
So moved.
Hearing none, motion by Vice Chair Collins, is there a second? Say again, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required through the Zoom meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes. This matter passes. Thank you very much. Voting items. A, to approve the written information security program policy. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like Paul Foster to come on and give us a quick overview. And this has been through our technology subcommittee.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick.
In detail.
Good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Stats.
Hey. So you should have in your packet a copy of the written information security program. This is a new policy for us. This is something that we have needed to put in place for some time, and certainly after the cyber incident last year, we definitely wanted to get moving and have a document. And so just to summarize quickly what's in this policy, it really defines for the district how we store, protect, and ultimately dispose of, when it's no longer needed, sensitive data and information. And this policy does apply to both electronic records as well as paper records. And so that the policy walks through the safeguards we have in place when we're storing that kind of information, as well as who should have access and how we ensure that only the right people have access. And the information that this policy covers, it covers both personal information, which has a statutory definition around social security numbers, driver's license numbers, and bank and credit card information. But we're also including in this policy student education records and personnel records, just to make sure that under the umbrella of one policy, we're defining how we secure and protect sensitive information. And there are also our procedures outlined in the policy for how we, on a quarterly basis, monitor to make sure we're complying with our policy, and also how we would respond in the event of an incident. I'm happy to take questions or go into further detail if that would be helpful.
Any questions or comments, school committee members?
I just wanted.
With the technology committee, Latonia is the chair.
Ms. Naylor, please.
We had a really good conversation yesterday about the policy, and there were just minor suggestions that we had. And so with that being said, we did give approval with the contingency that those minor adjustments were made.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor, and thank you for your work and the work of your subcommittee. Is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, thank you very much, Superintendent Warwick. Thank you, Mr. Foster, AKA Stats. Is there a motion on the floor to accept?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Naylor. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Geez, that was like a tie. A second by Attorney Murphy. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you. B is to approve the student acceptable use policy. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Yeah, Paul is here to present on this. This
Foster,
also went
please.
through our technology subcommittee, and Latonia can talk about it.
Yeah, sure. These next two, we have a suite of policies for each night. These next two are really replacement policies. So we have had a student acceptable use policy and a staff acceptable use policy for a long time. But as we were doing the written information security program, it became clear that it made sense to update those. And they were last updated in 2010. And as you know, technology has changed a lot since 2010. And so these are not, the reason you don't, for example, have a red line version of the previous acceptable uses, these are basically replacements. These are full rewrites of those policies. The other thing I'll highlight is these policies are you'll see that they're in a PowerPoint format. And the reason for that is these are policies we want to make sure, well, all of our policies, but we wanted to format these so that especially the student acceptable use, but also the staff, just making sure that we are able to readily bring these forward to students and to staff and share them and train on them. And so that's why you see them in a PowerPoint format as opposed to a typical Word document. So in terms of what it covers, if you go to page 2, you see on the contents, we really we have some definitions, but the bulk of this policy is very much what the title says. It's acceptable use of SPS provided technology. So the important thing there is this policy governs what students can and can't do when using computers we provide them, when using accounts that we provide them with, when using the internet that we provide in our schools. So that's really what this policy governs. We did have a really good conversation in the technology subcommittee meeting, and I want to say thanks to Ms. Naylor. She had made a suggestion on page 6, which talks about inappropriate online behavior. Again, this policy governs our students' use of the technology we give them, but we're also very aware, and Ms. Naylor made this point last night, that our students have their own devices and are engaging in behaviors on social media and other platforms online. And some of those behaviors are not necessarily what we'd want for our students. And so you see at the bottom on slide 6, we did add a piece there that references the fact that whether students are using, excuse me, technology provided by the Springfield Public Schools or they're using their own personal technology, it's just a reminder for students that when they're using that technology, if they're saying things about their school, about their teachers, or saying things directed at other students, that's subject to the code of conduct policy that we already have in place. And I'm happy to, again, answer questions or go into further detail as helpful.
Any questions or comments? And again, from Ms. Naylor, thank you for committee and work. If there's any comments?
Yes, I
Ms.
just
Naylor?
want to clarify, Paul, on our packet, it is page 5. And just so if anybody is confused, the slide that Paul is referring to is on slide 5 in our packets. And so we did have a very good conversation on that, the inappropriate behavior, and just making sure that we're making it very clear for folks exactly what we're talking about and what the expectations are. So thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Sorry
you,
about
Ms.
that.
Naylor. Ms. Hurst?
Yes, so thank you, Mrs. Naylor. I actually really appreciate that caveat at the bottom. But I had a question, and not necessarily specific to this particular policy, but in general, do we, outside of just sort of hand kids the student handbook and or parents hand them the handbook, is there any instruction or training, perhaps it's not training, but education that we're giving students that really explains to them, right? Because this is like really heavy duty stuff. No kid is sitting down to read this policy. But are we saying like, look, do you understand how serious this is? And these are the things that can happen. And these are the consequences, not only of your actions, but how it actually impacts others. Because I think that we need, this is great for us adults, but what about for the kids so that they understand how impactful their actions can be?
So I can say that there's sort of 2 pathways on that. So one is certainly with the policy itself. Part of why we did decide to do it this time in a PowerPoint is so that we can put this in the hands of all of our teachers to educate them on the student policy and also share it with their students. We have also always had there have always been sort of instructional or information technology standards, and so our instructional technology teachers have historically taught around things like being safe online. Something that's is new this year is we've made an investment coming off of the pandemic to have a computer science teacher in every building in the district. And so in Massachusetts, we have our digital literacy and computer science standards, which are really good. And the digital literacy half of those standards covers things like being safe online, about being conscious of your digital footprint, being conscious that once you post it, it's there forever, right? So that kind of education. So that's something that those teachers that are now in every building, part of what they're covering is that digital literacy piece. So it goes really well beyond this policy in terms of just safe practices online. And so I think that's important. We're using it as an example, some of the curriculum we're encouraging and having those teachers use. Common Sense Media, which you may be familiar with, they have good parent reviews of video games and movies. They also have curricula on digital literacy and being safe online that's free. And so that's an example of some of the materials we're using for that education.
And one thing I wanted to add as well, we talked about last night, was the suggestion around having some type of orientation at the beginning of the school year when we're onboarding, so that whether it's talking about appropriate use for technology, but also even just how to use certain platforms and how to use certain technology. So that is something that Paul said that he and his team are going to talk about and come back and present to us at a later time as to what that can look like. So that, again, yeah, we want to think about the possibilities of negative interaction, but we always want to build on the positive and that asset that the technology is for our kids.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, there was a good discussion last night, and I think out of that, we're taking a look at our computer science teachers that we hired to support this effort, to lead that effort in every school, so we can have not only the warning discussion, but the overall use discussion and improve that. So having that lead in every building to help all the teachers with this is going to make a big difference that Paul put in place this year. Thank you. That was a
Thank you,
great
Superintendent
discussion.
Warwick. Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, there's a motion on the floor.
So moved.
A motion by, I believe, Ms. Naylor. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. C is to approve staff acceptable use and data security policy. Superintendent Warwick, please.
I'll turn it over to Paul again.
Mr.
And again, it's
Foster,
been
please.
through our technology subcommittee. So Paul, if you could lead us off.
Thanks, Superintendent. Yeah, and this policy will look very similar to the one that we just passed for students. This is the staff technology acceptable use, and in this case, electronic data security also is included. And so this policy talks about a lot of the same things as the student one in terms of the appropriate use of the technology we put in the hands of our staff. On this one, this time I think it is, this one is slide 6, so I don't want to highlight the note. I got my policies confused, but in this one, we also added a note. In this case, rather than pointing to our student code of conduct, we're pointing to our social media guidelines, which do talk about appropriate staff use. And you know, that social media guideline, it talks about, you know, if staff are using their private social media accounts, but they're identifying themselves as staff of the Springfield Public Schools, they need to be mindful of what they're saying in that. And so we did include in that inappropriate online behavior slide, just a note to reference those social media guidelines. The other piece of this that's different is that reference to the electronic data security. So there are, for staff, certainly there are other expectations around being safe online, and particularly around securing sensitive data. So you see in this policy, we have some additional pieces around just password protection, not sharing passwords and things like that. So you see a slide on page 14 on data security. And we felt in conjunction with that written information security program that it felt very important to be clear with our staff about what the expectation is when handling sensitive data.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Any questions or comments? Ms. Naylor?
It's the same thing that Paul said about the last policy. We did have that adjustment on page 6 in this particular document. And I think it was a really good conversation that we had. And one thing I wanted to make sure that folks are very aware of is that this is not just the online interactivity. This is also how we deal with documents that are hard copy. So it's very important to remind our staff of what they're supposed to do and being able to maintain the security of our kids, as well as any confidential information.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. A motion by Ms. Naylor. Is there a second, please? Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, one is official vote, this matter passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Foster. Stats?
Thanks.
Informational items, update on pre-K iPads. Superintendent Warwick?
Thank you, Mayor. There's a PowerPoint in your packet that explains this. This also went through subcommittee last night. I asked Rose Walzak, our preschool supervisor, to come on and give us a brief explanation. So if Rose could come on now.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Ms. Walzak, please, and thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just here to address our preschool iPads and our mission moving forward in the best interest of our youngest learners. The plan moving forward for our iPads for preschool would be to bring our iPads back into our preschool classrooms so our youngest learners have access to the iPads for digital learning and responsible use and teaching students how to use iPads correctly in the classroom. There was no intention or no plan to continue the one-to-one usage since that was used for remote learning so the students could access curriculum and access Zoom. The plan is to bring the iPads back into the classroom to use for instructional purposes. We never had iPads in the homes before the pandemic, so we'd like to proceed with bringing them back into the classroom for the use within the rooms.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I didn't know if Latonia
Look,
went
Ms.
through your
Naylor?
subcommittee, if you wanted to comment.
It was another good conversation. We were enlightened on the number of iPads that were damaged or remain out of touch. So it does make a lot of sense for us not to continue having kids bring them home, but being able to have them use them in the classroom. And I love how Rose talked about being able to use technology for a positive experience, but also having control over that technology so that kids know you can pick it up, use it for what it's good for, but then put it down and do something else to learn. So I think it's a really good suggestion, and I can't wait to continue learning more about what our kids are doing.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Thank you, Ms. Walzak. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Okay, that's just informational. We'll move on to
Thank
B.
you, Rose.
B is update in technology.
So I have Paul Foster to come on the update on technology.
Thank you. And so we did have a brief update for the subcommittee last night on technology, and just want to move through that quickly just to make sure you're all aware. Just wanted to highlight some of the progress around technology in the district during COVID. You do, I think, have these slides in your packet, so I'm just going to highlight a few pieces. I think you already know, and really thanks to you all as the school committee for the foresight 5 or 6 years ago around one-to-one. We distributed 24,000 laptops to students. We did certainly the utilization of those laptops obviously increased dramatically with every student learning remotely last year. And so one of the things we did find, of course, and not surprisingly, when laptops are being used more often, you're going to have more issues. Over the course of last year, we had 9,500 laptops that came back to us, we repaired, and then went back out to students. So that was a pretty high volume of sort of turnover of devices coming back, but it worked out pretty well, and then we had a good process for that. You can see that the student help desk that was put in place last year where students could call in or use chat to get assistance took about 23,000 requests for help last year. And certainly a lot of work around both promoting the Internet Essentials opportunity for our families, as well as handing out 4G hotspots. That was a lot of the work around getting our students connected from home. And I'll talk about this in a moment, but that work is ongoing. Just wanted to highlight some emerging opportunities in technology. And again, I'm going to pick a couple here just to highlight. One is just, we all learned a lot last year. I think our educators learned a lot about the use of technology. So I think one opportunity is for us to continue to build on that. And so as you know, we have our portrait of a graduate. We're working on building our next strategic plan and thinking about how to continue to use technology as a tool to support new and different teaching and learning practices. And you can see here for K-12, we definitely are planning to continue the take-home program with the laptops. We see a lot of value in that, both certainly educationally, the opportunities that presents for our students at home, but also that went a long way last year towards really closing digital divides for many Springfield households. The other thing I want to highlight here is the third from bottom bullet, because this is something we're going to be working to really promote over the next few weeks and months. We've already have the Comcast Internet Essentials program where families can get at-home internet for $9.95 a month. And just to say that will always be better. And what I mean by better is faster and more reliable than handing students hotspots that connect to a cell phone tower. And so we've really tried to promote that opportunity. The thing that's very important for us to message to our families increasingly is the FCC now has what's called the emergency broadband benefit, where for every one of our families, because we're a community eligibility district in terms of the free lunch program, every family in our district has the opportunity to sign up for this program. And actually then the FCC will actually take up the cost of paying for that at-home internet. So we already had the $9.95. If our families sign up for this emergency broadband benefit, now the FCC is paying the $9.95. And so we really want to take advantage of that and get as many of our households connected as possible. And lastly, I just want to highlight some of the emerging challenges as it relates to technology. One is what I just talked about. We still have a number of families who are relying on hotspots that we may have provided and still don't have that wired at-home connection through somebody like Comcast or Verizon. And as I said, that wired connection is ultimately always going to be better when we talk about closing the digital divide and providing for access at home. I think another piece that we learned, and we just talked about it in the policy conversation, that we learned last year was just the digital literacy piece. And so we're working on ways to, and I appreciate Ms. Naylor's suggestion around the start of the year orientation for students. And I think we want to think about that for our families as well. We had that student help desk, but I don't think we fully anticipated when somebody calls the help desk and the person on the help desk is saying, well, I need you to click the start menu, or I need you to hit the control button. That wasn't necessarily familiar language for many of our families. And so that's a challenge we want to continue to work on trying to solve. We just passed some policies, which will hopefully be helpful in this next one of further addressing the security and cyber threat challenges. Those continue to be of concern. I can, and they come in all shapes and sizes. We just, in the last couple of days, one thing that scammers will do is they'll make up a fake email address. So they might make up an email address that's Paul Foster at Hotmail, and then send it to all the staff in the IT department, trying to get them to send them a gift card or do something like that. And so, those kind of behaviors are ongoing and things we're paying attention to. And you can see on the slide, certainly training for staff around things like password security, and then things we're doing on the back end to try to make sure it's as hard as possible for anybody to try to sort of break into our network and our system. And then lastly, I mentioned the repair. That'll continue to be a challenge. I think the good news is when we purchase our laptops, we're purchasing them with 4-year accidental damage warranties. So I mentioned those 9,500 laptops that we had to repair and then get back out to students. That was not at a cost to us because we're able to send those back to our vendors, get them repaired and get them back. The one challenge we had last year is the volume from us and every other school district in the country meant that it was taking those vendors a long time to get those devices back to us. But that'll continue to be a challenge as we try to improve our inventory controls and improve and continue our training to support students and families with the devices. And that's just the pieces I wanted to provide an update on relative to where we are with technology in the district.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Paul. Hearing none, we'll now move to COVID-19 communication update. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Yeah, there were some questions at some previous meetings relative to communications around COVID. So I asked Azelle Kavan, our Chief Communications Officer, and Lydia to put something together so we kind of go over the kind of communications we're trying to endeavor into to make all the situations that are going on clear to everyone. So Azelle, if you can give us an overview of this, and Lydia, please jump in.
Yes, good evening, everybody. So I'm just going to talk with you a little bit about the communication agents that we have used most recently and a little review on the overall communication strategies for COVID throughout the school year this year. So since you had your last meeting, we sent out a district-wide robocall on October 15th, directing families to the website as a resource for updates and information relating to COVID. And on the 25th of October, all students went home with a flyer which talked about the pool testing, the way that pool testing is the way it happens in the schools. And that also referred families back to that website. And then on the 26th of October, we put out an additional pool testing demonstration video. This one was in Spanish to accompany the one that we had done the week before in English. Previous communication efforts had included some district-wide robocalls about COVID and masks and what to expect. On August 8th was the first one from the district to families, again, directing them to the website, and again on August 30th. And the schools continually to continue to reach out to their families in their own ways with robocalls as it's appropriate to their school. We have radio advertising happening now through the fall on WTCC and Bomba, talking about the vaccination availability in the middle and high schools and urging vaccination. Since school started, or since before the start of school, we created a website page as the lead item on the website where information was stored, sort of a warehouse of information. We've also been placing information on our Facebook and on Channel 15. We've had media coverage about COVID and about the vaccinations and about that's pretty much the breadth of what the third-party media coverage has been covering. And it's been on these public news mediums that you see here. In November, we will see some billboards across the city promoting our Vax the Field campaign. So we're looking forward to that. We'll actually be working on that next week with some photos with some of our students who will be on those billboards. And lastly, I have a slide here which will show you the positive reported cases of COVID from September until now. As you can see, for students, which are in blue, the numbers are trending in the right direction from 106 in September to 51 this week. And in orange, you see the staff numbers, which are low, much lower than student numbers, but they do fluctuate up and down.
And Superintendent, thank you, Azelle. Superintendent Warwick, that is based really on upwards of probably 23,000 students.
Yeah,
24,
almost
maybe at the most.
24,000 students and on almost 4,700 staff.
I commend the efforts of Commissioner Helen Colton Harris and Jeannie Clancy and all our team on that. Is there any questions or comments of Azelle, Ms. Murphy Cavan, and Assistant Superintendent Lydia Martinez?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Perez.
I just want to give thanks concerning the pool testing flyer that was distributed to Lydia and Mrs. Sill. And it was very, very instructional when it comes to the self-testing by the students. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I seen the family has gotten the flyer. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. I did see it on Focus Springfield on the our young children students that were doing the self-swab under instructions, and very easily done. And again, if any student needs assistance, all they have to do is ask or have the parent ask on it. Any other questions or comments? Azelle, go ahead.
Yep, one thing, if I may, I think Channel 15, I don't want to put focus on the spot right now, but I think they might be in a position to play the videos. If you'd like to see that, am I right on that, Josue?
Josue, can you, I've seen it. I don't know if other members have seen it. It's not too long at all. Maybe it'd be good for our viewing public. We're going to continue to pool test, and we're going to continue to vaccinate with the okay of parents and/or guardians. And we're awaiting booster shots to come in. Now, it was updated Commissioner Helen Colton Harris yesterday. You can do both if
I'd
you
like to
like.
do both.
Why don't you do both, please? Then it's not too long, I know.
No, it's short.
Hi, my name is Michaela Rojas. I'm a nurse for Rebecca Johnson Elementary School here in Springfield. I'm an AIT alumni and I went to Central High School, class of 2008.
It's okay. You're doing fine, Josue. You're the wizard. I couldn't do that on my Etch-a-Sketch.
Hi, my name is Ariel Davey. I'm the nurse for Rebecca Johnson Elementary School here in Springfield. I'm an AIC alumni and I went to Central High School, class of 2008. Pool testing is a free service that we offer to all students within the Springfield Public School systems. Students are placed in groups of 10 and are encouraged to self-swab and then placed into one container known as a pool. If the pool testing result is positive, each individual from that group is then tested individually to identify who the positive person was. After an individual is identified as testing positive, the family is then contacted, the student is dismissed, and CDC guidelines on quarantine is provided for that family. Later that day, a robocall is made to notify parents, staff, and students that a positive case was identified and all the safety protocols were put into place. When I arrive to a classroom, I call the student out individually and give them the swab to self-swab, and then it's placed into a pool testing tube. That's it. Here you go.
She's adorable.
5 times each nose.
Adorable.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. On the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now can you put the fuzzy side down? Thank you. We're gonna go sanitize now. Samples of groups of 10 are placed in one single testing tube. You're gonna do 5 times each nostril. 1, 2. Other side. All right, place it fuzzy side down. And let's go sanitize. Mask up.
Thank you, Josue. If we could play the Hispanic version, please. Espanol. Gracias.
Hola, mi nombre es Caroline Aguirre y soy una de las enfermeras de intermedia de Chestnut aquí en Springfield. La prueba de pool es un servicio gratuito que ofrecemos a todos los estudiantes en el distrito de la escuela de Springfield Public Schools. Si el resultado de prueba de grupo sale positivo, a cada individuo se le hace una prueba para determinar cuál es el positivo. Luego identificamos al individuo, contactamos a la familia y despedimos al estudiante. Nosotros seguimos las pautas de CDC para la familia y una llamada es enviada para todas las familias dejándolos saber que identificamos un estudiante positivo y que seguimos los protocolos de seguridad. Si tienen alguna pregunta sobre este tema, por favor se comuniquen con las enfermeras de la escuela de tus estudiantes. Cuando llego al salón de clase, llamo al estudiante individualmente. Le entrego el hisopo para que pueda tomar su propia muestra. Luego el estudiante coloca la varita en el tubo de prueba. ¿Ok? Después se le da un poco de hand sanitizer y el estudiante puede regresar a la clase.
Thank you very much, Josue and Azell. Now, I think that was important to show our viewing audience how thorough and informational and educational we are. If there's any questions of Azell Murphy Kavan or, oh, geez, get that guy up. I mean, me, get me off there, huh, we? Yeah. Boy, it's a flashback. Oh, that's better, Azell. I need to last for a long day. Are there any questions, please, for the Superintendent Ward, Assistant Superintendent Lydia Martinez, or Communications Director Azell Murphy Kavan? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Zell. Thanks, Lydia.
We'll now move to reports of standing committees, Student Relation, Parent Concerns. That's Ms. Gresham. She's unable to attend tonight. Buildings and Maintenance Committee, Vice Chair Collins.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Legislative Contracts Committee, Ms. Perez, please.
No report at this time.
Thank you. Curriculums Programs Committee, Ms. Hurst, please.
No report at this time.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Vice Chair Collins.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Vocational Education Committee, Attorney Murphy.
No report.
All right, thank you. Technology Committee, very active. Ms. Naylor.
We discussed all of our items on today.
Thank you. School Safety Committee, that's Ms. Gresham. She unfortunately is unable to attend this evening. Special Subcommittee, Staff Demographics, Ms. Perez.
At this time.
Thank you very much. Report of our student representative, I think he's on the school committee, Nathaniel Claudio from Roger L. Putnam Vocational Technical Academy. Mr. Claudio? Nathaniel, are you on? I believe you were. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Good to see you, Nathaniel.
Nice to see you guys as well.
Got a different hairdo. Looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a barber's kid. I notice these things, you know. The floor is yours, Mr. Claudio. Nathaniel. Oh, he's pulling up his screen. Nathaniel, did you want us to come back to you, or I know you must be an issue there?
Yes, please. Can you repeat that one more time? I apologize.
No, that's okay. If you're having some issue, if there's an issue there, we can come back to you, or you tell us what you want to do. We can wait. That's fine. Well, one thing I can say about Putnam Vocational Technical Academy, I want to thank them and Principal Johnson. We raised the most ever. We've been doing a Raise of Hope since it became mayor, and we raised nearly $10,000, and about well over $2,000 came from Putnam Vocational Technical Academy.
Sorry, I'm
So
having
we're deeply
technical
appreciative
difficulty right
of
now.
staff and students and faculty there. We could come back to you, Nathaniel, if you like, and that way you can get situated, if you like.
It keeps scratching. I didn't catch that. I apologize. Can you repeat that one more time?
No, we can hear you. No need to apologize, Nathaniel. At least things happen. Josue, is there any way you can help him out at all or no? Or thanks, Josue. What's that? Well, he usually he would make a report or make some comments, the student perspective as a representative of the school committee. So if he'd like to,
I don't necessarily have anything to report. I had a question emailed to me about she does happen to be one of my friends, but a peer from my school, and I'm trying to find it. And I'm struggling. But essentially it was along the lines of school events. She's on Putnam's school board. She is, I believe, class president or class vice president.
Okay.
She was wondering if no matter she understands that the schools have to follow the same regulations and restrictions for certain outside events, but if the funding was there and made available by fundraising and different events, and funds were made, if it has to go through the entire school committee because it's going to be but so everyone can follow the same restrictions or regulations, or if it's going to be up to the school.
I'll let superintendent.
She wanted to know if that was a known factor.
I'll let Superintendent Ward
take a
clarify
stab
that.
at that,
Normally
sure.
on trips, it would have to go before the school committee. We haven't done those if it's something internal, but I'll let Superintendent Ward clarify.
Yeah, trips out of the country, Nathaniel, we'd bring to school committee. Normal field trips would go through the principal to the CSO. Right now, we're running everything by, Helen Carlton Harris, our Health and Human Services Director, relative to safety protocols. We're hoping as they lessen up, we're going to be able to do more and more. But we're following those protocols. So we'd have to submit everything to her with a safety plan and then see what we can do. And I think it's going to loosen up. If the rates keep dropping, my sense is things are going to loosen up and we're going to be able to let you do more and more activities, which we'd love to be able to let you do.
Nathaniel, that's what we're doing on the city side with entertainment permits or events going on, that the normal procedure, but you have to have a COVID-19 plan too, on how you would handle it before it would even be looked at to be okay. But as Superintendent Warwick indicated, knock on wood, we got to keep doing the right thing. The war, the battle's not over, but the numbers are decreasing. We got to continue to increase the vaccination rate. So I know the kids, you're all anxious. You want to be able to do some stuff, and hopefully we can slowly move into that, especially as we move into the spring. But I would think you'd have to go through your advisors and of course Principal Johnson, and then they'll kick it up the ladder.
Exactly. You'd bring it to your administration and they'd bring it through the nursing division and we take it to our Health and Human Services Director. Right now, we need a COVID plan. Down the road, you wouldn't.
Okay.
Thank you. So hopefully
Thank you for clearing that up. I'll definitely pass that along. Thank you.
Very good question.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Any other comments at all? Or I don't know, school committee members might have any comments or questions of Nathaniel. Nathaniel, thank you very much and look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully shortly.
Hopefully soon.
All right. Stay well, you and your family. Thank you,
You guys as
Nathaniel.
well.
Nathaniel.
We'll go to report of the superintendent. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Continue working hard, going out with the CSOs and making a lot of school visits. I've been out to 36 visits out to 26 schools. The staff is doing an absolutely incredible job in the schools. We're back to really normal with the learning in the schools. A lot of the logistics are still barriers, but people are working through the logistics, and you can see learning going on, small groups going on, people using the technology we have, and effective classroom instruction. We're trying to accelerate the learning and make up for the learning loss and putting interventions in place. But you can see that going on in every school. We're doing a lot of formative testing to gauge where our kids are at. And then really the focus now is beyond the logistics on the instruction piece and making up again for the learning loss that occurred. And the staff, like I say, I can't say enough about them. They've done a great job. I included a packet from DESE. There's a piece from DESE on the extension of the DESE mass requirement. In essence, it's extended the requirement to January 15th. So that's extended to January 15th across the Commonwealth. There is an exception if schools can get to 80% combined staff and students. They wouldn't have to, the only ones who would have to wear masks would be people unvaccinated. Right now, we're not close to that number in any situation, so we're still going to have the mask requirement for now. If we get to January 15th and DESE pulled the mask requirement, we'd be taking a look with our Health and Human Services Director to make sure we're making a good decision for Springfield based on the rates here at the time. The rates have been heading down in the city, and there's a lot of good news, so hopefully there'll be some good news on that as we move forward.
Just to clarify too, what Helen had mentioned on Wednesday's briefing, that the under 30 continues to be an issue, young people not getting vaccinated, and a little bit 0 to 10, because, and it's coming, we're tracing it is coming from the home, which in turn the parent and or guardians are not getting vaccinated on it. And I believe Moderna or Pfizer, shortly to CDC, that it could be okaying the 5 and up. So we're going to continue to, with permission of the parents and guardians, vaccinate our children on it. But they have, the numbers have stemmed down, but we need to continue to increase the vaccination rates. But when you look at what Azelle reported or on the COVID-19 positive cases, basically, let's say 24,000 south, the number, those are very, very low numbers. So we don't want anybody to get it. Thank you, Superintendent.
But you're right, Mary. I think it's the vaccination piece that's going to take us forward, and that is going to be approved from 5 to 11 too. So that'll help us in the elementary schools. We're still doing everything we can in the secondary schools to encourage more vaccinations, and then doing all we can with our testing protocols to keep everyone safe. But the mass piece right now is helping us tremendously, and it's very effective. And I will tell you, as you go around to the schools, you don't see a problem with it. Everyone's adapted to it, and they're dealing with it. That's just part of and the kids are happy to be back in school. They really are. And they need to be back in school, and they need that quality instruction that you're going to get in a first hand basis. So the last thing is I have a contracts report that I included in your packet. And if you have any questions, you can get to Pat Roach or I on that.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions of Superintendent Warwick? Okay, hearing.
I have a
Is there one?
question.
I'm sorry, I can't. It's tough for me in this T-Birds penalty box here.
That's okay.
Ms. Naylor, please.
I know that it's a few months out, but months go by very quickly. When they do talk about the 80% number and whether or not it's school by school or district by district, are those conversations already starting to happen as to how we would handle that? And if we are looking at whether we would consider a school by school, mask mandate or what have you, depending on vaccination rates, or are we looking at the district and making a decision based on what it looks like for all of our schools?
It's intended to be a school by school. If a school can get to 80%, that's the intent, to motivate folks to get vaccinated. So that would be the intent. Right now, we're not even close in any school, but it's something we can certainly look at down the road. We certainly would be working closely again with Jeannie Clancy and Helen Carlton Harris for advice on that. But if we could get up to the 80%, and again, it would be a motivating factor because the kids who've been vaccinated wouldn't have to wear the mask at that point. But the intent of what the state is pushing forward is a school by school kind of push on that.
So what would be helpful in our next update that we get in our next meeting is if maybe we can even, I know I kind of talked about some type of incentive of like, showing people what percentages are or something per school and kind of giving people something to seek after. And I wonder if we could get some type of update on what those percentages look like, especially now that we're starting to have those vaccination clinics in the schools. Because I know even I got notification today that they're going to have one at my kid's school and when it's going to be and if I want them vaccinated, and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that as we start to really push that as an incentive, that maybe more folks would be willing to send their kids to these vaccination clinics and have them participate.
Yeah, it's intended to be a motivation, so I think that's great. We haven't had the time to dig through it all. We'd have to have our nurses, which are trying to do all the different programs for us, well, dig through, get all that data for us. So we haven't. We estimate it somewhere around 50% because that's the vax rate in the city, or even a little lower than that for the middle and high school kids, and the elementary kids, of course, haven't been vaccinated yet. But we'll definitely get to that, and we'll get that information out there. But we haven't had time to do that yet with our nurses because they've been overwhelmed with trying to run all the programs we are running. And we know we're not close at this juncture, but we do have to pull that together because it's intended to be motivating for the kids, and maybe that'll help us get the vax rates up. So we'll be working on that. We'll get it out. Thank you.
And definitely getting the kids involved, because I know the school councils and the different key clubs and stuff are always thinking about service projects, and that could be, yeah. I know they're looking for something to do.
No, I think that's a great idea. It was like at Central where we had the kids actually do the whole media campaign with the Zelle, the vax, the field stuff. So we'll definitely do that. That's a great idea. We're just not close enough yet. And
it's not my idea. I'm speaking it, but the kids actually suggest
they come up with great ideas. Student voice is very important. So that's great.
Thank
and we'll definitely work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Any other questions or comments on the superintendent's report?
Can I ask
Ms.
a
Hurst?
question? Do we have is there a particular database? How would we, or how are we capturing that information? Are we just not doing it because we don't have the capacity at the moment?
We don't have the capacity right now with what the nurses are doing. We'd have to have our nurses work with the health department and find out who's been vaccinated, not only in school, but also in different clinics across the city. And then ask the kids to bring in evidence also and put all that together to get the actual vax rate. So it would be a lot of work.
Got it.
Yeah, it wouldn't just be the ones vaccinated in school, because a lot of kids are going to get vaccinated elsewhere. And then they could be vaccinated somewhere in the city, and the health department might have data on that. And then we could ask for the kids to bring proof in also, and we'd have to compare the three to pull it together to get where we're at.
Right, I figured that the kids are being vaccinated in other places. I just wondered if the school was the receptacle of all that information and then sort of feeding it into a system, or is that totally in the hands of, or we're hoping for it to be in the hands of our nurses?
Once we get to where we're going to have to tabulate it all, it's going to fall on our nurses and working with the health department to pull it all together. Absolutely. And we'll do it. We'll do it. Just right now, we've been executing the programs at hand. Yeah.
Sure.
If I may piggyback really quickly on that question, or more so to make a comment, I know that at my job, what they did is they sent out a little questionnaire, and it literally was just one question: were you vaccinated? And yes or no. And if it was yes, then what were the dates? And then you just press submit, and then it went into some form or some place. And I would imagine that if we need to verify once we get there, that would be a secondary job that we could have people bring in proof if necessary. But I think just to get an idea of whether or not folks are, that might be less intrusive and less of a heavy lift for folks if we could almost give people the opportunity to do that themselves.
Thank you, Mr.
Well, we'll come up with something. I'm sure Jeannie and Helen have done some serious thinking on a protocol for this, like they did all the contact tracing and everything else. So we'll get more information out to you on that. Those are good suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Any other questions or comments pertaining to the superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none. Unfinished business? Okay, hearing none. New business?
I have a question, sir.
Ms. Naylor?
I had sent an email out earlier the week asking about transportation. We've been getting a lot of complaints about the busing and actually experiencing it myself with my children. And I do know that we have a shortage of drivers, which is an issue. I have heard, and I don't know how true this is, that folks are using the National Guard to offset some of their shortages for their bus drivers. If that is something that we would be able to consider, so that kids are not losing learning time because their buses are running so late on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Superintendent?
Pat Roach, are you on?
I'm on. So
I asked Pat to look into your question, Latonia. So Pat, if you could just give us an update on how we're doing and what plans you have in place.
sure. So at this point, First Student is down 5 bus drivers, and then they're getting daily callouts, right? So people with COVID or COVID symptoms that they're having to backfill. So they're currently making sure all our kids get to school. But sometimes if a bus driver is not available, they're splitting a bus route and having another bus pick them up. I think we're at a better place than most of the school districts that got the National Guard called in. I think Worcester was down 45 drivers and Holyoke was down 28. And I think Lawrence was in a similar boat to that. So we're in a much better place. It's not perfect. And First Student assures us that they are working on it. They have a $5,000 signing bonus for any new bus driver who signs up. So please spread the word if anybody has anybody interested in getting their CDL and becoming a bus driver or transferring over to First Student. We'd love to have them on board.
Tony, just to let you know, Ms. Naylor, the city, I'm also doing training for CDL training, free of charge on that. And and I hope we are in better shape, as Mr. Roach indicated, than those other cities across the Commonwealth. But say, and I hope, knocking on wood, if we had to, I have no problem calling the governor. If we had to, we got to that point, we call the governor but it's good that, they're working on it. Hopefully get some.
The National Guard were ones that had really severe shortages, so they didn't offer it to us. But down the road, if this thing gets worse, it's something we could petition for. But right now, ours is much less severe than most. But I'm sure for the parents involved, it's disconcerting.
Yeah, it is. And I understand that it doesn't feel like when you talk about the numbers, and thank you for clarifying that, because when a parent is calling you and saying that their child never got picked up and they thought their child was picked up and they're standing outside and they don't have a cell phone to let their parent know that they never got picked up, that's a serious, concern for somebody. And so when I get those kind of calls from parents saying, where's my kid? Or I didn't know my child, I had went to work thinking that my child was okay and they never got picked up or what have you. It's a safety issue, but then it also is a concern when they're consistently late because now they're missing learning time, and we don't want that either. So,
and please just have them let us know right away, and we'll run them down. But we're working really, really hard to fill the routes, and Pat's looking down the road too to consolidate some routes, and that way we'd require less drivers because there's some efficiencies we're working with a consultant on for a long-term fix on this. But given the signing bonus and everything, we're in better shape than most, and we're willing to work on any problem that comes up if anyone lets us know.
Again, it's not perfect, but you got to remember, I think Superintendent and I spoke in the beginning of school where Boston was highlighting, we only missed picking up 40% of our kids. They've had constant problems. So we've had a good crew there from Maria D, who retired, and now the assistant that took over. But I'm not saying that the cast thing, I'm just saying that's what the Globe put out the comment on that.
So the problems are significant around the Commonwealth and certainly in some of those bigger districts in Eastern Mass, but we need to keep on working on it, and we'll stay on it and let us know if there's any issues and we'll run them down. And Deborah Duncan, who took over, is really committed to working on each issue and solving it with each parent. So get them to us and we'll resolve them.
That's important. Thank you, Latonia. That's somebody's child. Any other new business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to ask the superintendent about the swimming pools. We've gotten a few emails, and then we've gotten some actual constituents who have asked, are we not doing swimming because of COVID, or were we not doing it even prior to the pandemic?
We weren't doing swimming instruction during school for years because we were unable to get the lifeguards in addition to the phys ed teachers that you'd need to execute the program safely by health department standards. So we weren't able to do that. It's impossible to get that number of lifeguards during the school day. That's why we partnered with the park department to use our pools. We pay for all the maintenance in the pools. And we actually gave Pat Sullivan some money to run the swimming programs, but those would be run in the evening when you could get kids after school, high school kids, college kids, and you can actually get the lifeguards required to make the swimming program safe. You have enhanced regulations that weren't in place at one time, where just the phys ed teachers were enough at one time. Right now, you need your phys ed teachers to provide the water safety instruction, but you also need a full cadre of lifeguards in place every day during a school day, and we could never get the numbers we needed to make it safe and to meet the health department requirements on that. So we canceled them during the day, but actually supported the park programs in the evening and got the information out. So those would be available. Now, I'm sure they've slowed down due to COVID, but they'll get up and running again. We've continued to spend our money on maintaining all the pools and making the pools available and providing Pat some support for the program. That's how we decided it was the best way to handle it.
Got it. That's
Thank
helpful.
you for bringing it up, Ms. Hurst. We had a devil of a time trying to get lifeguards over the summertime. We do even the training. We give free training. We do that. It was very, very difficult. We were able to open up the majority of the waterways that we could and rotated. But programs in the evening where we have more flexibility. I remember at Springfield Sharks, my daughter swam at that at SciTech. I remember when we were in junior high, Kylie, we used to have it during school time. That was years ago. You can't find, Maria knows, we had to do down the north end. We worked it out. You could not find lifeguards.
Right.
So, but we are going to try to continue to do through Pat Sullivan and the aquatics, the evening programs. And do that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And at that note, we did even increase, because I was part of the meeting for the lifeguard. We even increased the wages.
Yeah,
in order to.
I was paying $20.
It did not work, although we're not doing as bad as other cities in town.
Yeah.
Because then we did a comparison, but even increasing the wages, we were not even to find lifeguards.
But we're also gonna work with our community centers too, that have pools. They've reached out during the ARPA stuff and they're looking to do that. We would coordinate with them to the Family Center, Girls Club, Acorn Street, the Boys Club, Carew Street. So we have discussions on that too. But the point comes to having the proper lifeguards and aquatic trainers. The summer camps for Camp Angelina Star, Forest Park, some of our pools that we had in the schools. Hopefully we can get back to it, but it's going to be difficult. We're still going to try to do those evening programs if possible. It's good question though. Any other questions or any other new business? I'm sorry. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion on the floor to adjourn? Motion by Ms. Hurst, is there a second? Second by Ms. Perez. Roll call vote is required due to Zoom. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, more than sufficient vote. Matter passes. Good evening. Thank you for watching and good health to you and your families. Thank you.